Hello and welcome. I'm going to talk about the Hanwei, Practical Plus Katana, or PPK for short. Before I go too much into the nonsense, you should probably read this crap. It says some stuff that's probably important for contextual reasons. Also for you people who like numbers and stuff, for points of reference and things. Here, look at this. First, let's talk about the tsuka. The tsuka's wrapped in some sort of fake leather that looks like it's made from the same stuff as that gimp suit from that gimp guy in Pulp Fiction with the zipper mouth. Anyway, that's an obscure reference. Odd way to start. Anyways, wrapped over real same. It's nice. It has an axe shape. Nothing that you wouldn't expect from Hanwei, but it's comfortable enough to use. The saya is made from wood. Well, it's coated in ishime lacquer, and the ishime is nice because it doesn't show fingerprints every time you touch it. Considering this is something you're going to be using frequently, or at least that's its intention, it's nice not to have to clean it every time you grab it. That sounded sexual and it wasn't intentional. Moving on. The saya holds the habaki pretty well. Keep in mind that this particular sword is a second-hand piece, so the fact that it's probably really old and still holds pretty well in the saya is a good thing and is a testament to the quality of its construction. This is the tsuba, the handguard, and it's supposed to be in what they call a sunburst design, and the thing I like most about it is that it's finished well, and the sunburst doesn't burst my fucking hands open when I use it. As you're aware, I tend to do stupid things with these swords. My fingers get caught up in some of the ones with pointy edges, and it doesn't happen in this one. It's very comfortable. The handle's comfortable, the tsuba's very comfortable. It's a little bit big, but that doesn't really bother me all that much, and it looks just fine. The habaki also fits well. There's nothing to really say good or bad about it. It's a standard brass habaki. The kashira isn't exactly my favorite, but it's got some pretty flowers on it, and I guess it's better than nothing. Though actually I think I might honestly prefer nothing. But let's talk a little bit about the blade. This blade currently retails as of June 2015 for about $300 on Cult of Athena or $490 on Hanwei's website, in case you hate having money. The simple fact is that this blade set the standard for what production katana were supposed to feel like. The blade is nothing really special, but the hamon on it is slightly nicer than a wire-brushed hamon. The shape is very comfortable, very agile, though nothing particularly special. The kasaki exists, but, the yukote isn't very crisp. But then again, you're not paying a lot of money, and the point is to have a blade that's very functional. What it lacks in finesse or beauty, it has in spades when it comes to practicality. Go fucking figure, right? The Practical series also comes in all sorts of different shapes, sizes, and types. I've had a number of these different series blades, and they all have their pros and cons. This, for example, is one of the original Practical series katana, a simple practical version. You can tell by the kind of rough shape that it's one of the originals, but more so by the fittings. The original series came with simple blued metallic fittings, and you can always tell that you have one of these gems if you see the tsuba and fuchi kashira looking of simple blue steel construction. Later editions of the Practical katana such as this were a little less rough around the edges. You can see that the fuchi kashira and tsuba were changed out for a textured type one, which is a little classier. I don't know, it's really 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but I prefer the newer look. I've had a number of PPK katana as well, and what I can tell you is that they feel pretty consistent. A lot of times there's variations between the katanas because they're made by hand and that happens. However, I've found that most of these blades are relatively consistent in their construction, which is pretty cool. These are the manuki that you'll find in the PPK. They're little lion doggy things. I don't really get the sunburst and the flowers and the lion dog, but it probably says something that I don't get. Anyway, this is another one. It's the Practical Pro Elite. It was a big beastly motherfucker. Nice, but like the PPK but on steroids. And this was the Practical Special. Much lighter, a little faster, but not really that much different feeling. This was the Practical XL, and out of all the Practical series, it's my favorite. It cuts like a goddamn demon. Why not review that, you ask? Well, maybe I will later. Nah. It's about time that I move on to the part where I do some cutty, choppy things. Before I do that, though, I want to show you the sword, and keep in mind that the sword, at this point, looks like it hasn't been used. Well, it is secondhand. It hasn't been fucked up. It's not bent, it's not chipped, it's not scratched. It looks like this was hung on somebody's wall or used as a decorative piece, and it doesn't look like, frankly, it was handled very much. I was fortunate to find such a fine specimen secondhand. The first thing I'm going to do is whack some water bottles around. Not that this proves anything, considering you could do this with just about anything. A sharp stick could probably accomplish the same task, but it is really fun and kind of customary at this point. I start cutting larger targets, which are rolled up newspapers, which were wet at one point, but I left them out in the sun too long and they dried up quite a bit. The Katana performed very well. You can see it's a pretty thick target, and when the newspapers are dry, they're a little bit harder to cut than when they're wet. Now that said, when I walked into this cut, it kind of fucks it up pretty good, and you can see on this one, it really kind of bent the blade up. At the center of this target is a plastic dowel. I came at the target at a really shitty angle, because I'm not a very good swordsman. But anyway, the point is that it didn't cut through the dowel. What happened is the force of the blade was moving toward it. The blade slid off the dowel, but my momentum was still moving forward enough to bend the blade. At least that's what I think happened after I tried watching the video, but maybe you can slow it down and tell me what happened. Anyway, the point is that the blade bent a little bit. Not substantially, not so much that it doesn't function, but it did bend a little bit, and you can see where it did bend. Now, keep in mind as well that I'm kind of abusing the blade. I'm not doing things that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm cutting at bad angles, and when you do that, you're likely to bend shit. Most of the time I'd stop after I fucked a blade up, but I decided to keep going with this one. It's not exactly a terribly expensive blade, so I figured why not put it through its paces a little bit more. When I ran out of paper targets, I decided to trim down some of the shrubberies in my backyard.
This montage has been sped up because it is colossally boring to watch a montage where somebody is trimming a tree.
This episode of Katana vs. Tree Limb might not be overly interesting, but you can see me walk up to the camera every now and again and show a branch that was cut down. Well, this isn't for pride, it is to say that the trees are relatively thick, and you can see that I'm not exactly exercising a lot of caution while I'm swinging this blade around. You would probably expect that the blade would get more fucked up by looking at the way I'm using it. In fact, I did, and it was most surprising to find that it didn't get any more fucked up than it already was. The one bad cut caused the blade to bend, but after that, it stayed pretty consistent. The edge didn't roll, the blade didn't bend any more than it was before, and it held up really well against hard target cutting. I found that very surprising, as I kind of expected to fucks it up real good. I took the blade out and cleaned it up a little bit, and it shined up real nice. The blade's only moderately bent, and there are some cutting scratches that you're able to see in the right light. I found them overall minor. There wasn't any significant edge damage to the blade, cutting scratches, or something that you would expect even if you cut water bottles. Overall, I thought that was pretty impressive. There's a reason that the Practical Plus has built up a reputation for being a solid sword for beginners, and this is probably why, because a dumbass in his backyard can go whacking trees with it and it doesn't break in half. That's pretty fucking impressive when you think about it. Also, the bend was pretty minor. This is a shot of the sword from the top or the manet, and you can see that the bend, while it's there, is not exactly preventative from using the sword to its fullest intentive capacity, in the choppy way. So the main question is it worth it? For $300, there's a lot of amazing products on the market, from Ronin, other offerings from Hanwei, Cold Steel, Dynasty Forge, Munetoshi, and probably some others. These are examples of katana that I've personally cut with. Is the Practical Plus better? No. It's not the best at anything, but it's also not the worst at anything. Overall, it's a very well-rounded blade, and it's earned its reputation as a mainstay for beginning practitioners and cutters because it's good. The value is right up there, so value equal very yes. Congratulations, have a nice day, go buy some fucking swords.